horses on New Year's Eve, walking down my Brooklyn street. And I saw fireworks in your eyes. I was falling, falling, falling 1 year ago at this time. Now I'm trying to get back my mind. I'll take my photographs, wrap them in bubble wrap. I'm leaving for the weekend, or maybe for the year. I'll secure all my edges, all the fragile remarks that were taken the wrong way, before I go leaving for the year. Taken the wrong way.
My water tank is not big enough, and I do need to install a bigger water tank, but trying to find, I can find one that fits, that's really expensive, or I can find like a cheap one on eBay that's, I imagine, is surplus, that doesn't fit. So as an interim solution, I saw this video, and I'll post a link to it, where they show you how to add a bypass to your existing system, so you can use your pump to fill up your tank from an external, like a blue jug. This bypass valve here allows me to fill my tank up from city water. Well, now between these two, I can use this and these two together, and I'll be able to fill the tank up from like a bunch of blue jugs or collapsible jugs or something like that. Make it a lot easier for me to fill the tank up and extend my water. Even if I had a bigger tank, it'd be nice to have this. But before I hook that up, I thought it'd be useful to take a quick look at a typical RV plumbing thing, and I'll explain what I'm about to do with that three-way bypass valve. So here's the typical RV basic setup. Got a water tank down here. We have a self-priming pump right here. And we have one or more faucets in the RV over here. When you turn the faucet on, the pressure drops in the tank, in the line, causes the pump to go on and pump more water. Now, in the real world, of course, we need a way to fill the tank. So the RV will have what's called a gravity fill inlet, where you can stick a hose or something like that in there and fill the tank up. But most RVs, at least most if not all, have what's also called a city water hookup. This is a pressurized hookup where you can hook the hose up directly or something like that and supply the RV with water directly from a city water hookup at your house or an RV park or something like that. Now, what you should be aware of if you're doing this yourself, and like I did, you want to be aware that there are two important factors to this. You need these two one-way valves, where I've shown them here. Most of the time, the RV pump will probably have its own one-way valve, but you definitely need one here. And if we do a little thought experiment, we can see why. Suppose the city water is not hooked up. Well, what would happen is the water from the pump would come out here and could flow out through the city water connection instead of going into the RV. Similarly, when the city water is hooked up, this configuration is an auto switch. So you don't need any kind of valve or anything. What'll happen is when the city water is hooked up, you turn this faucet on, the pressure drop is not going to be seen by the pump because the pump is on the other side of this one-way valve. The city water is going to keep the pressure, is going to see it and supply the RV with the city water. Now, having said that, a good modification to make, that a lot of RVs have this as well, but if yours doesn't, or you're building one, you can add this. You can put a bypass valve in here that circumvents this one-way valve here. And so what will happen now is when you're hooked up to city water and you flip this valve on, the city water will flow, instead of going into the RV, it'll flow down here through this valve and into the tank. Although, of course, you can always use the gravity flow, but this is kind of a pain getting the hose out, sticking it in there. A lot of times it'll leak, quite a bit of water because it's just not a very efficient way of doing things. And this is much preferable. Instead of doing all that, you just flip the thing when the city water's hooked up and fill your tank up. Now the modification that I'm doing today with that 3-way valve, or the 2-way valve, whatever, that I just showed you, is I'm putting this between the pump and the tank like this. Now normally if you're running off the pump, this valve, the bypass valve, will be shut. This will be pointing toward the tank, and so when the pump pumps, it'll pump water out of the tank. But if you want to fill up your tank from external blue jugs, or those clear plastic jugs or something like that, whatever, you can flip this switch in this direction, flip this bypass on, and then what'll happen is the pump is going to pump the water directly out of the blue jug or the clear plastic jug or whatever. It's going to go down here through this valve here and fill the tank up. So this is a really cool way of using the onboard pump to pump water out of an external source and put it directly into the tank. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. Now for my bypass to fill the tank from an external source, this is just a regular RV water inlet. And it had kind of a spout thing here for entering the water. This one is only has a gravity hookup, not a city, which is fine for what I needed. Anyway, it had this spout. I cut it out with a hole saw, and now I cut a piece of metal. And I'm going to stick in like that and see if I can get the valve. Mount the valve in there. The valve's going to go in kind of like this, but it'll be surface mounted. And then I'll have a hose connection here, so I can screw in a hose, flip the valve, and fill the tank up from an external water tank. Come on guys, admit it. You're dying to take a grinder to the side of your car, but your wife won't let you. Well, I'm not married. It fits.
It's on. So what are you doing?
Now I'm going to hook up the pump to the middle one of those. So I just thought I'd show you, if you're not familiar with this, here's the gravity flow input I was talking about. You can see that's just kind of a spout here. You can stick a hose or something in there. And here's the city water hookup. And you do screw a hose on there with threads. And here's how this turned out. Here's my bypass. So this is set to pull water out of the tank right now. And let's see what happens when I flip a few switches. Now I went ahead and screwed a hose in there. And actually, just relax. Let's take a look at what's behind there. So there's where my pump is right there. And normally it would have gone over to this right here directly. And so what I've done is put this valve in the middle right there. And then this flex hose right here is the other side of the valve. And I just ran it to a hose bib right there where this hose is here. I have a 30-gallon tank, and so I could buy, 6 of these, and obviously they store easily. This one's full, and double my capacity. I've already got a couple of blue jugs and 2 of these, so the blue jugs are 7, right, and 2 of these, so that's already 30 or 27 extra gallons. So I've almost got a double capacity with these external tanks as it is. So let's see how we do it. I'm going to turn the pump off. I'm going to flip my bypass valve so that water goes into the tank instead of the RV system. I'm going to flip the 2-way valve so it's drawing from the this external instead of the tank. Now when I turn the pump on, it's going to start drawing water out of there. You see it's already drawn about half of it down there. And there goes the last of it. So trust me, if you've been doing it the way I used to do it, and then you add this modification, you'll be liking life a lot more. This is sure a lot easier than how I used to do this.